That was the great Apollo Saturn Rocket 5, the largest rocket that's ever been built. I'm going to give you some very strong statistics. You might want to write these down. It was 36 stories tall. It weighed as much as 400 elephants. It had enough fuel on board that at 30 miles an hour, you could go around the planet 800 times. So, you can imagine, when we blew 12 of those up, quite a noise. I heard about the test astronaut program, and I was a young engineer and a physicist, and I heard about the test astronaut program. So I walked up and said, I want to be one of those guys. There was two categories at that time. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, if you bear with me, I would like to talk about the moon mission. And let me talk about where we are. There's two categories in the astronaut program. One is the flight guys. They do the flying. The other are the test astronauts, like myself. You probably hear about the flight guys. You don't hear much about us. But we were there. When I started to go into this, I had to go through some very, very strenuous physical and especially mental. Because you're undergoing something that with your testing that could cause a lot of mental. I remember the doctor said to me about the second day, he said, by the way, if you are under a test and things go wild, do you think you'd go crazy? So my words to him were, crazy? I got to be crazy to do this stuff. And that's the way I felt about it. So I went through all this training period, and they brought me to a level that we could feel confident in me being able to go into the space travel business. Astronaut training involved more than just suiting up for the test. It involved very dangerous what-if games. What if this doesn't work? Where do you go? You may lose a life. And I had one right beside me blow up. I know that world. It was a deadly serious game. And I had to prepare myself to live that life and be a part of my life on a daily basis. The one constant that was in my life was the element of the unexpected. They would give you a mission test, and you would study it, and you spend time by yourself, and you say, wow, what if I don't make this one? It'll concern you, my friends. The stakes were very high. Each mission that I worked on had more questions than answers. It just kept coming, questions. So we'd test again. We'd test a different direction. But I was so proud to be part of a team that was on its way to the moon. What an honor. It was great. My friends, there was hundreds of thousands of people in all parts of the world you never heard of, maybe never. But there were hundreds of thousands of people around this world that worked on that mission in different countries. They were there. The lunar environment that we were fixing to visit is very hostile. It's hot. It's cold. It has no atmosphere. Wow. Now, NASA's problem was, how can we survive? If we survive, how do we operate? How do we actually operate up there? So what we did, every test we did, was basically designed to keep the astronaut alive. Just to keep him alive. I was ready. At least I thought I was. And then there came the topic. What NASA forgot to tell me. So, with that being said, I'd like to go into some slides with you. The first slide, I got transferred to a place called China Lake, California. And at China Lake, California, they had a huge sled track. And this sled track measured G-forces. We didn't really understand the G-forces. Oh yeah, you pull a G-force, you guys know, you're sitting on a G-force right now. So we didn't know exactly what it would do. But this track was 3 miles long. It was about a month before they contacted me. And they said, Charlie, you're up. Oh boy. So the next day, I got all suited up. I got all sensored up. I got all probed up. Ladies and gentlemen, they put probes where I didn't know it was part of my body. And so I was stuck. And so we go down. This is quite interesting to me. We go down, and we get in this van with 5 guys. 2 of the guys were doctors. Okay. So we take off down the road. And I look out the side, and there was this track. I'm going, okay, that seems to be an awfully long track. So we get to the end of the track. The guy says, we can get out now. So we got out. Ladies and gentlemen, there sat the beast. That was the biggest machine I had ever seen. I didn't know what to expect. This machine had a cockpit or a seat on the front of it. Now, on the back was 3 large rockets. And then they would fire this thing up. Okay. The doctor says to me, you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. That's 3 times. I'm okay. So they take me up and sit me in the seat. Strap me in, get everything ready, and I look around. There's nobody there. There's nobody there but me and the beast. So I'm going, okay, what do I expect out of this? And then the next thing I heard was, ready? 10, 9, 8, 7. And then all of a sudden this thing took off. And I'm going to tell you something. It threw me so hard against the seat, my head, my body, I couldn't breathe. I thought my ribs were going to break. Then the next thing I hear, this is the next thing I hear. That's 2 G's, 4 G's, 6 G's. He's doing good. I think he's good for 10 G's. Then all of a sudden, I hear 12 G's. At 12 G's, I started losing it. Didn't matter to me if it 50 G's. I was pretty well done. And then all of a sudden, the guy said, run him to 16. Gentlemen, I pulled 16 G's. Now let me tell you, that was not an amusement park ride. That was tough. So, we get there, it stops. I look out, guess what? Same 5 guys, same truck. Guy looked up at me, And I'm wondering, is this the only word he knows? And he said, "You okay?" I said, "I'm okay." "Okay, let's get you down." So they come up and they start unplugging me and pulling all this stuff out and in and gets me on the ground. He says to me, "You okay?" I said, "Well, I haven't tried to walk yet." I said, "But here's how to make me okay. Would you do me a favor? Would you go up in that seat and bring me my heart, my lungs, and my face? Because I'm sure it's still up there." I'm telling you guys, I couldn't blink for a month. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. It just went. The way they stop it, these arms come out, they drag in water and sand, and it slows you down. I rode it 5 times. I guess that's what's wrong with me today. Then I moved from California to Houston, Texas. And I was in Houston, Texas, and I'd been there a couple of months, and it was nice. I was going to see all these test sites and these chambers, and they were so good to me. And I got to see everything. And then I got the phone call. And they said, "Charlie, tomorrow you're riding the centrifuge." Oh, I knew what a centrifuge was. Now I'm fixing to tell you what NASA forgot to tell me. So I went, I got the centrifuge, the Mighty Centrifuge. Okay, the centrifuge had a 50-foot arm and a 20-foot gondola ball right here. And the door's over there, and you position, and then I was all suited up. I went by everybody, and I got in the gondola. And what made me feel good was it was an Apollo capsule. It was exactly like the Apollo capsule. Because that's where we tested, that's where we trained. So we had to turn this off, this off, this off, this off. So they said, "Okay, Charlie, we're going to run you up there today." I'm thinking, oh God, not 16 Gs, not 16 Gs. And they said, "Okay, here's what we're doing. We're going to test it out today to see where you are." We ran up to about, I think it was about 6, 8 Gs. Not so bad. Then they let me out. And they said, and this is what they forgot to tell me. They said, "Oh, by the way, tomorrow, 6 a.m., 6 in the afternoon, you're going to ride this thing twice a day for 30 days. Whew, what NASA forgot to tell me. Interesting. You notice the gondola spinning. You're sitting in the seat. You have no visuals. So to you, it's a straight line. You feel exactly like it's a liftoff. You have no visual as you're spinning around. So that was very interesting. Then we start getting a little bit easier. So what we were doing, NASA says, what happens? See, NASA, as you guys who are old enough, we have soft landings during the Apollo days. We had to land in water. We couldn't land on land. Russia, they landed on land. We used water. Parachute comes out and you land. Okay, what happens if all of a sudden the capsule goes a different direction and you only have land? Okay, so what they did, they took me up 5 stories, put me in a command modula, and dropped me. So this is this is really interesting. So they dropped me. Now, that little something, that didn't work, so we put it back up there. No. So they did this. Well, what we didn't expect the heat shield to fall off. It wasn't that hard a hit, but you knew you were home. So we tested that. Now, after we tested that sort of stuff, and I'm going to go through some of these things. After we tested that, we're testing some instruments on the moon. We knew, and we don't have days on the moon. We got to get up there. We got to run these tests. We got to make it happen. So we had a test. The lunar lander lands, and we have to take out instruments. The astronauts would take out one instrument at a time because we wanted, when we lifted off and came back to the Earth, we wanted to leave these experiments so we would know what's happening on the moon. So, this is a drawing of what happens. You've got your central station and all of these experiments. What we found out was too much time to go sit the central station up, come back to the lunar lander, get another sensor, take it out, come back, take another one out, and come back. Too many precious minutes. So we designed what we call, in our world, the barbell. What I'm doing here, this was all the experiments, all the things that you just saw. So now, what we do is we take out, sit up the central station, take a piece off, go out here a few yards, sit it up, go out here a few yards, and we knocked off very, very, very precious minutes. The bar is the antenna. Genius. Just a genius work. Just genius. Okay, now, from there, we go to survival training in the Gulf of Mexico. This is where NASA forgot to tell me. They took me out to the Gulf of Mexico. And they dropped the Apollo command module there. Took off. Our job was to simulate what happens if they lose you. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, the command module is not a yacht. It is a cork doing this. So we learned to adapt, and we were eating what we had left over. The problem we had, if I may, was restroom time. So we had it all worked out. Everybody is going at different times. You can cut this off. Everything's going at different times. And then we said, no, let's synchronize this. Okay. So we all went to the bathroom at times, same time. Open the hatch. Dump everything out. That's me on the side over there. I had to get a little bit more air. And dump everything out. Close the hatch because we could not afford to lose. Water comes in. We lost mercury. If you remember correctly, we lost mercury. We lost a mercury capsule just because of that. Well, some other things, but it sunk. So we couldn't do that. When water did come in, it got rough. It got rough. Oh. That was not pretty. When it got like that and the seas got rough, it's pretty tough, guys. Pretty tough. Now, another way that we had to simulate zero gravity. One of the ways we simulated zero gravity was what we call the Whiff Tank, the water immersion facility. And so we would get in there, and they would balance you whether you would be up or down. Up or down. And you could do a lot of maneuvers. Now, it was so big that we could put the command module in there. And you could have EVA, extravehicular activity. You could go outside the spacecraft and do a lot of good training. So that was okay. Now, we're coming to, a few bubbles. Now we're coming to real zero gravity. This is a KC-135 aircraft. The KC-135 would do parabolas. We would go up to about 35,000 feet. We'd come down, and in that section right there, you would be weightless. If we were in the KC-135 right now, and we started the parabola over, we would all start floating out of our chairs, bumping into each other, pushing each other, and everything. The glasses would all go. Everything goes. Now, this is what she looks like. We're starting to see why we call it the Vomit Comet. It's very hard. The body inside of the body and the stomach area was not designed to do this. This is upchuck time. So we did them. And during the day, we could have about 40 of these. 35, 40 seconds. We'd do them about 40 times. Okay. So with that being said, the inside looks something like this. Okay. So this is the way the inside, and it's all padded. It's all great. But then all of a sudden, somebody upchucks, somebody vomits. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, vomit. Now, let me say this to you, friends. It's not so bad there, except when it comes back down, naturally it's in the floor. Let me tell you what you don't want to do. You don't want to throw up in a spacesuit. Because when you do, it's right here in your face. And then, when you're finally done, it all settles down to here. You go up again, back up, back down. What NASA forgot to tell me was that I need to do everything I can to not eat. Don't eat real good before you fly the Vomit Comet. Please. It's tough. Now we're back to, okay, we're getting ready to go to the moon now. So how do we do this? We have to disseminate a 1/6 gravity. As we know, the moon is 1/6 gravity. So we had to figure out a way to do this. So we had a truck. This is a 1/6 gravity simulator. This is myself here. As you're walking on the Earth, you walk and you push, you walk and you push. You can't do that on the moon's surface because if you push too hard, it'll push you over. It's interesting. So we have to develop what NASA called the moonwalk. I spent days trying to get that down. I was balanced at 1/6 gravity, but I still had a hard time with my feet under me. So we got it down, and we had the kangaroo, little antelope walk, cantaloupe walk there, and we called it the moonwalk, and it worked. Now, when we got to the moon, we wanted to get some samples, some rocks, something. We didn't want to go all the way up there and have to blast off and come back with nothing. So, the engineers invented the Lunar Drill. We didn't know how the crust would be. We didn't know if it'd be soft. We didn't know anything about it. A few little tests, but so we invented this drill. This section right here, what we would do is Neil, you can see me trying to test it. I was trying to sit it. I kept telling the dumb engineers, I can't reach it. It won't work. And they kept saying, works for us. Really? You're not in a 180-pound spacesuit. Try it. So we worked on that quite a while, and we finally got it. Neil took this thing to the moon with him. And what we did, we'd get outside, push it in, pop a little button, and it would suck up the moon dust. Just pull it up in there. And we got 10 vials. Oops, shouldn't say this one. But we got 10 vials from there, little packages. I don't know how it happened, but one of those landed at my house. I didn't say that. So, now, we're coming to the actual landing, and I'm getting ready to close. We're coming to the actual landing here that we're on the moon. What we're doing here, I happen to be in a flight suit here, but most of the time I was in a space suit. One of the hard things, guys, was to get out of the lunar lander, come down the ladder, because the exit's small, little bitty. So what you do is you train, and that's where we came in. Whenever the astronaut starts out, he has what's called a PLIS, the Portable Life Support System, on his back, and you're inside the lunar lander. You've got to push him and push him down, or he gets hung up on the exit door. So you push him down. Now, once he gets out, clear sailing, and then you go down the ladder. I went down that ladder probably 1,000 times. Some with spacesuits on, some with flight suits on. I'm satisfied. Except I told the engineers, and you'll catch it here in a minute. I told the engineers, I said, fellas, the bottom part is too high. It's too high. They didn't listen. So I taught Neil. I said, Neil, listen to me. Now here, he's at one, that's Neil Armstrong. He's at 1 full gravity. And I said, Neil, watch the bottom ladder. Watch the bottom rail. Okay, got it. So this is the day that changed the world.
Stand by. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming. Okay, I just checked getting back up to that first step. It's that isn't collapsed too far, but it's adequate to get back up. Roger, we copy. It's a pretty good little jump. I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
That's what happened. It took a lot of testing. As I said a while ago, one of my buddies, we were testing a battery that we were taking to the moon to leave. It blew up in the altitude chamber, blew him apart, barely nicked me, threw me against the wall, but I looked at him and it was all red, so I knew he was gone. So this evening, in the brief period we've had, I've tried to show you some of the testing that went on to prepare our astronaut fly guys to go to the moon. They didn't have to go through all that. We tested, wore the suits, talked in the microphones, engineers got it, and they wrote procedures. The procedures at that time was given to the astronauts because they didn't have time to do what we did. They had to prepare for their missions. So this evening I've shared some of the testing that we did. I hope you got some of it. And I'll close now. Some people say, what do you do now after you do all that? Well, I'm a government and private consultant back in the United States. I'm very privileged because my experience gets me through a lot of doors, so I can talk to the government about contracts, so I can talk to private industry and get them in to the contracts. If anybody would like to talk to me when this is over, that's great. Now I'm going to close with my dream. All through my 30 years, I taught kids in school. I taught them, and I had space camps. Now, that's a great thing. But a lot of kids don't have the privilege nor the money to go to a space camp. So I've designed what I call Space Camp in a Box. Ladies and gentlemen, in this mighty box is everything a classroom needs for their space camp. Procedures, flight manuals, student manuals, thumb drives, activities, posters to turn it into a classroom. And let me tell you, it's for all kids. We're preparing 65,000 in Oklahoma. It's for all kids in all countries, and we're doing it in all languages. All languages. I chair the aviation board at Oklahoma University. They couldn't give me sponsorship money, so they said, bring the box to us. We'll give it back to you in whatever language you want and use it for our kids at the university. Think about it. Think about it. You'll see it. Okay. I'm open for any questions that anyone may have. Ask me, please.
Big round of applause for Charlie. Huh?